am going to try to walk you through a few of these checkup questions that are on Apex, because I know there's been a few questions. Okay? So in this section, there's basically 3 different problem types. This first one's for questions. Oh, let me get my pen going. For 1 through 4, it says, which right triangle congruence theorem can be used to show that 2 triangles are congruent? Well, there's 4 different theorems. You have the leg-leg theorem. You have the hypotenuse leg theorem. You have the leg angle theorem. Or you have the hypotenuse angle theorem. Okay? So you want to go to each of these questions and you want to observe the different markings that you have. So in number 1, we see we have these markings. And we just want to figure out, well, are those legs? Are they a hypotenuse and a leg and angle, or hypotenuse angle? Hopefully we can pretty quickly see these markings are not angles at all. They're definitely either leg or hypotenuse. Remember, the hypotenuse is always the longest side. So if I look here at this first side, AB, I want to ask myself, is this longest? Well, no, it definitely looks like the shortest side, so this must be a leg. And same thing over here with ED. If I look at AC and DF, another way to tell the hypotenuse is it's always across from the right angle. So since I'm not given the hypotenuse, these also must be legs, which means this is the leg-leg theorem. Okay? And you want to do this with each of these triangles. You can highlight what you're given. If I can mark my highlighter. Here I'm given this little curve and a little side marking. Well, a curve like this, when you see that curve on the inside, this is now an angle. Okay? Same thing over here by D. And then, once again, I want to figure out, well, is this my hypotenuse or is this the leg? This is across from our right angle this time. So this would be a hypotenuse. So this one would be hypotenuse leg. Try 2 and 4 and see how you can do with those ones by yourself. Okay? Our next problems here, 5 through 7, it asks us to find the distance from a given point. Make sure you are reading through things. Sometimes questions are just super easy. Go with it. Embrace it. So if we're doing number 5, it says, what is the distance from B to AC? Well, here's B. If I'm, oh God, that's awful. Sorry for any technical getting used to this. If I'm going straight to AC, that's this line here from B, P. That's our distance. So I don't actually have to do any work here. The answer is right there. From B to AC is 4.3. Check mark, done. So just be really careful that when you're doing these problems, you're reading through them. Okay? The next thing that we have here is, again, it's asking from B to AC, but unfortunately this time life wasn't so easy. What you notice here is that you're really cutting a bigger triangle into 2 smaller triangles. So you have sort of this red side with the 11 and the 13. And, oh, let's make a blue side. We have our blue side with 5 and 9. In order to solve these problems, we're going to have to use our Pythagorean theorem. a squared plus b squared equal to c squared. Okay? You have two different triangles. You can use either one of them. It's your preference in this case. Personally, I don't want to work with the decimals any more than I have to, so I'm not going to use the decimals. I'm instead going to use these nice 5 and 9. Oops, that's wrong. 5 is my small side, so I'll make that A. The side I'm solving for here, that's my X, and the 9 will be my C. So I'm going to set up 5 squared plus X squared equal to 9 squared. Now you're going to have to square your two numbers. Your phones, if you turn them sideways, have an extended calculator. You can use it that way. If you just type into Google calculator, you should also be able to get a calculator that way. A squared is another way of just saying that number times itself. So this is 5 times 5, or 25, plus x squared equal to 9 times 9, which is 81. This is now solving an equation. I want to get x alone, so I have to subtract my 25 from both sides. Okay? I have x squared equal to, and I believe that is 56. The last step here is where you're pretty much going to have access to a calculator somehow, whether it's your phone or the Google calculator. You need to do the square root. It should, on the phone, it doesn't normally even have the little extension. On a phone, it'll just look something like this. You should be able to press it and get the square root happening. It'll depend on the phone or the function. Some calculators, you do the square root first and then type in the number. Other ones, you type in the number first, then the square root. You're just going to have to kind of play around with whatever calculator you're using on your phone. The one on Google, I know you hit the square root sign first and then put in the number. So you would do that. If it's not a perfect square, you will see a bunch of decimals. If you're doing an Apex quiz, just make sure you're mindful of how many decimal places at once. In this case, we'll round to just one decimal place. So it's 7.48. We'll round that to 7.5. And that is our answer. Number 7 over here is incredibly similar. You can choose to do the 6 and 10 or the 10.67, blah, blah, blah. Again, I would just avoid the decimals if you can. You can always use the other sides to kind of test your answer. And then the last set of problems look like this. Black, yep. These ones are kind of just playing around with the shapes. Okay? So if we look here, we have, actually I'll do a highlighter. We have this 5 and we have this 5. What those 5s are telling me is that I have bisected my angle. When you bisect an angle, you are cutting it in half, that bi and bisect, which means we should have 2 equal halves. And what that tells me is I can start to build things up. If this side is 15, this other side should also be 15. And what does the question ask? It says, what is the measure of angle ABC? Well, when you're writing an angle, in case you've forgotten, you go in order. So from A to B to C. It wants this whole thing. Well, I know one side's 15 and the other side's 15. 15 plus 15, my answer is 30. Okay? The other ones just play around. Read through the questions and try your best. So if I'm starting to set up 9, it says angle X to Y to Z. X to Y to Z is 88. Okay? So this whole thing is 88. And the question is asking me, what is X to y to p. So that's just this side. So think about what you would do to that 88 to get that side. That's all for this section of your Apex learning. Try out these problems, then try out the remaining problems. Then go and try the quiz. If there's a question on the quiz that you really don't understand, either don't tell me the number because Apex will switch them around, but take a picture of it with your phone or screenshot it, some way to send it to me so I know which one you're having a problem with, and I'll try to send you back something that talks you through that problem. All right, thank you.